So thank you very much, everybody, for coming to fourth lecture in our 5th year of free, non-credit. The university likes me to say that because they've been bombarded at times when it's gone into the press that it's a free, non-credit lecture. And so, yeah, we just really like educating the public about cannabis and prohibition. And we're really proud of this lecture series and really honored to have individuals that work in the field, as it were, that take their time to come and share their knowledge and inspiration with us. And today we have, luckily again, I think we're just chatting. I think this is the 4th year that Bill's done this. He may have come the first year, I can't quite recall, but we're very fortunate to not only have Bill up here teaching us about hemp, but in our community as well, promoting hemp in his company, have the company downtown and otherwise wherever he goes. And so, welcome again, Bill.
Thank you
very much.
Hi. I was thinking about what this, because this is my 4th time up here, and I see some familiar faces. I'm like, whoa, tired of that. But I just wonder if you realize how lucky you all are to have Hempology 101 and the great work that Ted and Gail and the rest of the crew are doing, because I think it's a unique thing. And Ted just told me that it's expanded over to UBC. Perhaps next year I can go over there and do some blah blah blah. Anyways, good on you guys for doing it. 12 years ago, my son was living in Victoria, and I was still up in the Kootenays where I raised him. And he and a business partner had heard a lot of buzz about hemp, and they thought it might be a wise idea to jump in and start a retail store. And rather than kind of gloss over what it is, they used the term hemp and company. They said, we're hemp, we sell hemp, we're going to just let everybody know. And there's a little bit of temerity in that because, there, as you're well aware, there's lots of issues around hemp and and the connection between what we call industrial hemp, which are all these products up here, and marijuana. Related plants, not exactly the same, but because of, and Ted's told me that he's gone through the marijuana tax law in the U.S. It was the beginning of in the 1930s, a time when the landscape changed for hemp products. Up until that time, ropes, clothing, oils that were used in paint products. It was just common to utilize industrial hemp in those things. Here's a crop that you can grow. It can be grown without a whole bunch of fertilizers and pesticides and all the chemical treatments that a lot of agricultural crops are needing. And you can grow it, you can cut it down, and you can start utilizing it for food, for fiber, for paper. Amazing plant, totally amazing plant, and medicine as well. If here we get into the marijuana aspect, because of the ingredients in there, makes wonderful medicines. I happen to have, I didn't bring it up, it's a bit valuable, a very old jar from Italy that dates back to who knows, I don't know how old it is. And it says cannabis on the front, and it's from a pharmacy. So it was a big jug that the cannabis was kept in, so when you went into the pharmacy, druggist would pull it off the wall and do this little thing. So I just think it's a truly amazing plant, and I'm very happy that my son started this. And again, I was living up in the Kootenays, and I thought, wow, this is a great idea. And so I opened a little store in our hometown, and 6 years ago, perhaps 7 years ago, moved to Victoria to take over things here. And we now have 3 different stores in Victoria, 2 hemp companies, and one is called Shift Natural Fashion, which is the same idea, but kind of for a younger crowd. It's just the styles are a little bit different. So I didn't come to talk about me, I came to talk about the products and why I'm so excited about hemp. And primarily, for me, it's an environmental issue. As I mentioned, this plant can be grown without all the chemical treatments that most agricultural crops require. Cotton is a very natural plant, and a lot of us wear cotton clothing, so it's like the main natural fiber that's out there. But unless it's a certified organic cotton, it has been sprayed the bejesus out of it. It's got pesticides, it's got fertilizers, it uses a lot of water, which means that as soon as you put all that chemical treatment on the plant, and then you put water on it, all that chemical goes into the soil, it eventually hits into the water systems, and pretty soon you've got fish with 3 eyes. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but you know, that's in my head. With nylons, you're dealing with a straight oil product. Old dinosaurs pumped out of the ground. Those oils are used to create all your nylon type of fabrics. So when I think about hemp, I think of all of the organicness of it, all of the environmental beauties of it, because it can be grown very simply. It can be grown in almost all temperature zones, from the tropics, for sure, to Edmonton, because I know farmers in the Edmonton area who grow hemp. So it's got a wide temperance for, you know, all of the temperatures. Most of it can be just whatever rainfall comes, it's happy with. In fact, in Saskatchewan this year it was too wet, and my main source of information, a hemp farmer from Saskatchewan, pretty much lost his crop because Saskatchewan was beaten up by Blake. So he's had to source from other farmers now, so it's not all going to come from his farm this next year coming. So I say it's a great crop. Well, what makes it so great? Well, it's grown usually, as I mentioned, so as an environmentalist, it satisfies my enviro consciousness. What can you do with it? Well, there's probably roughly 1,000 things that could be done with it, or even more. Ted's brought a whole ton of books up here that talk about it. This is the one I'm most familiar with. Of course, the Emperor Wears No Clothes is the Bible. The beginning of the information that we started to gather that was shut down to us was through this book. And lots of other artists have jumped in. Ed Rosenthal is pretty famous as a writer. Hemp Horizons gets a lot into the agriculture, how it's grown. If you can picture it, most of you know what a marijuana leaf looks like. Well, a hemp leaf is the same, but basically the plant is grown very tall and straight with just a little bit of foliage at the top, because what it's being grown for, 2 things. One is seed, and one is the stalk of the plant. And it's about the size of your thumb, grows very densely together, and grows boing up, and then a bunch of leaves at the top. This photo up on the wall shows, you can kind of get an idea of how tall it is. Here's a machine from, I don't know when, in the harvesting of it. You can see how dense it is. One farmer told me that it's so dense that it kills the weeds in that he tries to get rid of. And because he has no place to sell his hemp, he just lets it grow about knee tall, and he plows it under, and it's full of nitrogen, so he's then putting organic fertilizer into his soil. So, in Canada, it's legal to grow hemp, but unlike growing wheat or corn, you have to have a license from the government, and it's a bit of a process, and you have to renew your license every year. Just because you got it in 2009 doesn't guarantee you get it in 2010. Twice a year, the federal government will send somebody around to take samples and they check your THC level in the plant. It's supposed to have less than, I think it's 0.05% or something like that. Like, you know, like we say, a canary couldn't get stoned eating these seeds, but they're so strict about it that they, you know, they don't go around to a farmer and check his wheat, and check this guy's potatoes, and check that guy's corn. But twice a year, our government sends people out to check the THC of the actual hemp. So you have to have a license, go through a whole bunch of crap. You can't take a seed off your farm that can be grown elsewhere because they're trying to restrict work. Then of course you have to buy your seeds from the government.
So would they reproduce their own seeds?
Yeah, not talking any names. Most farmers think that their seeds are better than the stuff they get from the government, so they keep a little bit back, and then they pretend they're planting the government seeds and trying to plant their own. So I'm hoping.
But that would be illegal.
But that would be illegal. Nobody told me that. Yeah, that is one of the issues, is that the THC.
So they would
could
actually
get-
modified ones that would be reduced in THC level?
Yeah, it's just, you know, the farmer's got to weigh all of these things and what he or she is going to do around, you know, using their seeds, his, whatever.
Actually, every attempt to make a seed that has 0 THC has failed, and after 1 or 2 crops at 0%, the plant ends up naturally starting to produce THC again. They've not been able to breed it or genetically modify it out of the plant. It seems to keep coming back and, you know, evolving despite anything that they do to it. And as far as I know, it is the only seed crop that is controlled by our government in this way, in any way, shape, or form. They don't even control medical marijuana like
this. In Canada, we have a lot of products up here, and I'll buzz through them, but I just want to say one thing. Hemp Company is basically a clothing store. That's our 90% of what we deal with is in clothing. We do deal with twines, we deal with food products, and some other stuff I'm going to show you, but it's mostly clothing. And so people always say, well, oh, so you get your hemp textiles coming from Canada. Well, unfortunately, it's not. I've been doing this for 12 years. Every year I keep hoping that a plant will be built somewhere that can take the stock of this, of the hemp plant, a manufacturing plant would be built that could then spin it into fibers, and it's still not here. We still don't have it. It's still lacking. The U.S. has lots of textile mills, but this is the year 2010, and the United States of America still will not allow their farmers to grow hemp. Americans who come into my stores, they're always a little bit nervous. Oh, can I take this home? Yes, this store could be, my store could be in Seattle, it could be in Dallas, Texas. There's absolutely 0 things in my store which are illegal in the U.S. But their farmers can't grow this textile, or sorry, this plant. It's easier to get a license in California to grow medical marijuana, and it's impossible to get a license to grow hemp. Go figure. In Canada, so I'll get back to the textile thing in a minute. In Canada, what do farmers do when they do grow it? The main thing that they do is grow it for seed. And I have some products here. Now, I said you can't take seeds off the farm. You can't take a seed that can grow. So these are called, and this is a specific brand in Rocky Mountain from Lethbridge, Alberta, called Hemp Hearts. And what they do is they take the seeds and they crush it to take the shell off, so that what you're left with is the seed of the plant, or the heart of the seed. So this is not growable. So therefore, you can take it off and do it. Go ahead.
I just wanted to show this here because this is actually the hemp seed broken up into all of its various components here. And so you can see there's hemp flour up there, which is usually the hull ground up. And I would imagine one of these would probably be the hull. And then you have the hemp nut, which was what Bill was just showing, which is usually what you're buying these days. And then